So y'all know I've been about myself, doing this thing, but I honestly been looking for somebody that ain't really gonna always fucking agree with me. We're not gonna see eye to eye on every single damn thing, but I can bring another brother along with me, that's gonna help me, that's gonna teach y'all, teach me, teach yourself, um, and learn from us as we all go along too. So my brother Kenny, welcome Kenny to the motherfucking to the fold, to the gang, and thank you for welcoming us to your gang, to your fold,
Oh yeah,
and
no doubt, no doubt.
being willing to give us some knowledge and talk some shit with me, bro. So I thank you so much giving me your time and meeting a new friend, meeting a new brother, and
Yeah, man. Like you, when I was
support.
watching that video this morning, man, like you was kicking that. What I like the most about what you say is it's not hard to follow, but it's easy to dismiss if you don't listen to what you're saying. And you're going into topics that are very taboo. So when people hear these things, all they immediately want to go to, they play the race card, they play the stereotype card, they play all these cards, but they don't ever sit there and go through the situation. So, trying to have a conversation with you in the chat was a little tough, but I mean, it led to where we are right now.
Yeah, real talk. And it's important what you just said, how they could be easily dismissed.
Yeah.
And I understand that I'm really cautious in understanding that the things that we talk about aren't readily talked about unless, to be honest with you, unless your family opened up to you and they were knowledgeable enough to tell you certain passed down knowledge in your family lineage.
Right. It's funny you say like family lineage. Most people, when we're talking about Blacks in America, or when you're discussing just in general the thought process of African American Black community, a lot of it is always like, my generation, my history, and it's always in that negative context, and just speaking in a more positive manner, like your lineage, because at the end of the day, what your ancestors, what your generations have been through made the character in which you were raised, for better or worse. And it's also a generational weight too. If you look at your, and I'm going to continue saying what you're saying. I like that. I like lineage. If you continue to look at your lineage in a negative light, to which sometimes that appears that's all the Black community is doing, is looking at everything in a very narrow, one-sided funnel vision, without realizing just how much potential we have with so many examples around us from other cultures that make up the melting pot of what the states are about.
Do you subscribe to the terminology of generational curses? And if so, do you feel like where do you, in your lineage, was these generational curses broken? If so facto, hypothetically not true at all, but if you were slaves and you had to come out of this Jim Crow.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to answer this to this point, but I can tell you when the proverbial cycle was broken, right? And so when my folks joined the military in the 80s, and from there we left, went to our first duty station was overseas, and then we came to America, came to the States. So during that time though, as we got older, our parents would always say, like, they're so glad they left because of all the trouble that was going on. And we're not talking like political revolutionary things that are happening in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Things are kicking off in a village type deal. So they wanted to escape that, kind of similar to a person that they're living in the slums, or they're living in the hood, and they want to move to get away from that, right? They want to be the Jeffersons. They want to move on up. And so by my parents joining the military, getting out of there, they broke a perpetual cycle of what we could have ended up being, right? And in some ways, I still think, due to my own actions and my own negativity of life, or my own immaturity of life, I still ended up fulfilling a lot of those curses. Hence why they're a curse, right?
Touche. I'm in the same boat. Whereas, and I'll expound on it. I'm not even gonna hide it because we both cheese it right now. We know what we
Yeah,
want.
because we know exactly what we
We know
talking
what we want to
about,
say.
man.
And I'll go first. Where my dad was a pimp, right? So he wouldn't claim me, right? My dad has never claimed me because he's always had this pimp ideology where a pimp don't sleep with their hoes.
Right.
But he ended up falling in love with my mom, if whatever their situation was, and I was born. But he never claimed me as his jit. But he always stayed around. He always bought my school clothes every now and then. A little small shit. But the man obviously was a pimp. He had a lot of kids. Like I got an identical brother, but he got a different mama. And my daddy's so old, I got a brother damn near the same age as my mother.
Damn.
Yeah, like I'm hood. Like,
do you mind if I say something on something you just said? I just want to highlight the fact that he was a pimp and you said he didn't want to recognize you, right? Or he didn't want to claim you, but still came around to make sure you were taken care of. You know what I'm saying?
It's a very odd dynamic for me, man. I remember I didn't know who he was until I was 11. But when I first laid eyes on him, like literally I walked in my house, he was sitting on the couch. I knew exactly who he was. I just ignored him. I kept walking, but I still knew who he was.
How long was he making sure you were taken care of? Those little things you mentioned. How long was he doing that?
From the time that I was born to the time that I was around 3 or 4. And then he went ghost till I was 11. And then he was around from I was like 11 to like 12 and a half. And then he popped back up. I had graduated from high school, but I was already in college. I was like I was in college, like going to school with no high school diploma, right? And my college was like, hey, when's this diploma coming in? When's this diploma coming in? So right. I did some figgly wiggly jigglies and got that goddamn diploma. And I was very proud of myself. I was a college student. I had, I hadn't had a kid yet. Still hadn't had a kid because I had my kid at 19. I was 18 at this time. And just gonna throw you for a loop. And I was so proud, bro. Like I was in school, I got my diploma in the mail.
Right.
You know, there's accomplishment for me. And I called him. I called my brother. I was like, yo, what's dad's number, And in my mind, bro, I kind of got pie in the face because I'm gonna be very honest right now. I'm gonna say this. My older brother's like, he out there. You know what I'm saying? He, you gay dude, that gay lifestyle, them boys wild, they flamboyant. My brother got bleached blonde hair, and I love him to death. He my guy. He do anything for me, take care of me. I love my bro.
He living his best life.
Yeah, and then my other brother, like, I don't know him like that to really talk about him, but we always bump heads. We never really connected like that. But he was like in and out of jail and shit. And I'm not trying to knock my siblings, but I just want to show you my mind frame because I want to be honest about my mindset when I did this, right? So I called this guy, the day I got these diplomas, or my high school diploma. And he goes, I was like, yeah, I just wanted to call you, let you know, like, at least one of your kids is doing something, I'm about to be in college. And you know what his response to me was? Darius, I'm not your father, man. I'm not your father, Darius. I was 18 years old. I remember and I asked him, I got so angry. And I was like, so why you come around all these years? Why you talking about you making sure I'm straight? Why do I look like all of my siblings? Like everything you say don't make no sense. I was like, and at the time, I ain't had emotional maturity to deal with, how I was feeling because it's been so many years, you know what I'm saying? But as I got older, I just understood the code, baby. Just understood the G code. The niggas just can't break that code.
Pimp gonna pimp and play gonna be a player.
Play gonna be a player, baby. And I love my dad. I forgive him. I haven't forgotten, and I'm not able to be around him or anything like that. But I don't wish no bad on the old man. I ain't going to no funerals or nothing like that. I wouldn't even lie. But he gave me life. He ain't got to claim me. I'm still here.
Bro.
Nigga gave me life, bro.
I'm going to applaud you in a couple of things on that, brother. Not only did you go through that roller coaster, so smashing job, just telling the intense story in literally 2-3 minutes, man.
And real quick, he ended up with a lot of kids, and because I want to make it, he ended up with a lot of kids, and then I ended up with a lot of kids as far as the generational curse. Like I know I dragged that out, but that's where I was going.
See, here's the thing. Like I don't see it that way though. And only because I've lived the life I've lived, I hear things like that. And again, I can't help but express the regret that he must feel, right? You know what I mean? If you have to assume it, unless you know for a fact that if he was doing it for one, he was doing it for all. And if he wasn't doing it for all, you know, what place in your heart did he have for you? Of course, you know, being a player, he had to maintain his status and his money. But a man of that kind of stature has a certain level of integrity that when they do things like that, nothing is ever not on purpose, right? Everything's intentional, from the way they dress, from the way they walk, from the way they talk, from the way they engage with people, you know. So out of all of that, made time to make sure, you know, Darius was taken care of. So even though it wasn't continuous, what part of him felt obligated to do that? And it's also, to speak on the generational curse, you ain't and not to be in a negative tone, man, but you ain't no pimp. Like you're not a pimp. You're a man of society. You file a W-2. You know what I mean? You pay taxes. You buy materials with credit card and debit. So you have a status in life that is not comparable. If anything, you've exceeded and excelled. So when you made those same mistakes, you just happen to be more stable than he was in certain aspects, right? But you still at the same time took a lot of what he taught you, and it sounds like you incorporated a lot of those engagements for better or worse, and it still led you to where you are today. You know, you questioned a lot, but then at the same time, here you are talking about, you know, who he was, and you still forgave him. Like forgiveness is something that, you know, even the holiest of men can't do. So when people that are considered your day-to-day are able to forgive and get that weight off your chest and let that hatred that it fills you go, I mean, bro, like that's that self-talk strong we're talking about, right? That's an enemy no longer in your corner for you to worry about. So I mean, kudos to that. Many people hold those to the day they die.
I've never been able to fully dissect this and talk to someone about this particular thing, and this goes into this same thing we're talking about. Right. There was a point, and if this happened for you with other men, because this is very important. If this happened to you when you were younger with other men, I want you to talk about it. When I was younger, two things happened with two different men that let me know I was different. And I was a kid. It's a fucking kid, bro, both times. The one time my dad came around, real short and simple. One time my dad came around and we were driving to go get me some school clothes. I think I was like 11, 12 years old. Mm. I'll never forget it. We in Orlando, we at the light of Colonial and Cimarron, about to make the left onto Colonial to go to the mall. We sit at the light at the red light, and I'm just, you know, I never had a dad, nigga. I never, like, the only man I ever known is like my grandfather, who used to call me from California till they moved here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm excited. I'm talking to this nigga, you know, hey, you know, no. That nigga looked at me, he said, son, men don't talk that much. Turned his head and kept driving. And I ain't say nothing to that nigga ever after that, right? Now, I didn't agree with him. I didn't adopt that. I knew he was a jerk asshole, right? So I knew I'd never do that and I'd never be that way. I'm always a talker. I love people. I knew then we have a difference in the road because I'll never adopt that ideology. That's one. Secondly, the greatest man to me in my life is my grandfather. This nigga can walk on fucking water, gold. He come before anybody, nigga. The nigga's God to me sometimes. Love my grandfather. One day, long story short, my grandmother sent me to Ross to get some shoes. We ain't had no money like that. And I come back with some felines, but it was a size too big. But it's what I wanted. She got mad. She sent me back to get some Bobos that she seen, some Airwalks. So I'm crying. I'm riding the bus. I'm crying all the way down. Whatever. Got to get these fucking Airwalks. This is what Granny wants. So when I get to the parking lot, I get through the parking lot, I get in front of Ross. This lady screaming behind me. It's a man trying to pull her purse from her. It's an old lady, but she won't let go. So he dragged the lady down to the ground and dragged her. She holding on to her purse. Now I'm a jit. I ain't gonna count, probably like 14 years old, 15 years old. And he finally get the purse from her. And as soon as he get the purse out, a car pull out that was waiting on him. They hop in, they go. I filed a police report. So old lady, I saw everything that happened. I wanted to act, but I was kind of frozen, to be honest. Like I wasn't having that mentality. You know what I'm saying? I was young, I was a kid. But long story short, I filed a police report. Just give my statement, get all my information. I get home. Mind you, my grandfather walks on fucking glass with no fucking crack in his foot, in my mind, you know? And he goes, what took you so long? What happened? And I tell him what happened. He blows up on me, King. How you find a police report about something? You stay out of people's business. That was none of your business. You didn't need to put our address on no document. What if those people get a hold of those documents and court documents and they know you wrote a statement? I knew I wasn't built like him. I knew instantaneously when that shit started flying out his fucking mouth, I knew 16 times you could have whooped my ass if you was mad. You could have kicked me out, sent me back to live with my mother. You could have did anything. You could have took track and field away from me at that time. I was still going to file that police report. As much as you are God to me, I understand we do not see eye to eye, my brother, about how we handle things. I knew that, dog, at 15, at 11, I had that at 11, and then I had that experience at about 14, 15. I want you to talk about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, so you talk about your father in such a high regard. I want to just ask a question before I talk about my point. When did you know you forgave him? Like when did you know, and why was the reason you forgave him?
I knew when I just said it to you talking. I had to process that. It took me a minute because I've never spoken that ever. But I knew it was true. But when did it really happen truly? My stepson, I have my own kids, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like he's the baby, right? He's my lady son. And nigga, I love this nigga more than I love myself, nigga. I don't love nothing more than I love this little boy, bro. I don't love air. I don't love life. I don't love nothing more than I love this goddamn kid, man.
Thanks.
And I just knew that with that type of love in my life, man, I ain't got no grudge for nothing. I ain't got no hate for nothing. Man, the way that kid made me feel, where he hug his dad, man, where he tell him motherfucker, he introduced me, he say, I'm Max. That's daddy. Like, it's like, yeah, he on point with everything, man. He the perfect kid for me to keep my ass, shit, really on a treadmill. You know what I mean? Like, I need a Fitbit on chasing around this dude. But he's my world, man. He made me feel alive, man. He made me feel like a good man. I can see my values when I look at him. I see that redemption you talk about. And I see me, he keeps me on track with my other kids, giving them that attention, giving them the best dad that I can give them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He really keeps me thinking about them a lot because he gives me so much love. I give him so much love. I never want to neglect my other kids. You know what I'm saying?
Unconditional love.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And what you got from these men of influence in your life. Remember when I said, as human beings, we're designed to let each other down we must let each other down in order to learn a lesson, right? That's how we're designed. And it sounds like at some point, these men you looked up to, well, not your dad, but more your grandfather, let you down. And it's not that you're built different. You just have like your integrity is different. You know what I mean? And I've never understood.
Doesn't make things necessarily bad or good. I would respect more what you said.
That's just it. People take it and they want to make it different. I've never grew up under that no snitching, whatever. Like if there's a problem, you know, you call the police. You know what I mean? Like I remember. So peep this, man. I was laughing just hearing you tell your story because when I was in the military, when I got to my first AIT, when you go to learn your trade, and they had this club that was on base called the BDU Club. Now the BDU Club is literally that, like it's all the enlisted personnel go there. You pretty much go in your battle dress uniform. But I was young, and this was like the first time I was introduced to motherfuckers from the South, or from people from the South, right? And this is the first time I'm talking about. Like I found out who Project Pat, the Hot Boys. I remember the first time I heard Outkast. AT Aliens. Like that was I was introduced to also the dudes from the wards, man. Like, I mean, like dudes who they join to escape the hood, but you can't take the hood out of these dudes. Like they're gonna be grimy, they're gonna see opportunities, and the ones that were like that were smart enough to avoid these situations. And me being brand new to all this stuff, I latched onto it, man. I was the definition of following the bad crowd. And mainly I did it because these individuals looked like me, and I was young and impressionable. And I was the person that, like, you ever know, like in those movies, they always have that one dude who gets picked on all the time, but he still comes around. You know what I'm saying? Like that was me, man. Like I was that guy because my entire experience was a heavily predominant Hispanic community with a sprinkle of Black kids from the military in it. So to see these, like, and then completely different culture, different side of the states, bro. We go to the BDU Club, and it's just like your regular club from like those in Florida. You have to sometimes you find yourself you just in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, and then you just pull up on a strip club. Like, okay, that kind of party was going down at the BDU Club. All right.
Yeah.
So that was the crowd. And I'm talking about people walking around with handles, smoking, packing the Black and Mild, taking out the filter, packing it back in type deal, and this was like 2000s. So I remember, there was this one jam. Well, this is like Knuck If You Buck came on.
Crime Mob.
This is also like crunk music was just starting to build up, you know what I mean? So like this was like when they in the club, everybody in there swinging, like you about to get your lick on. And I remember this dude was talking smack to one of the dudes in the group I was with. He lived in my dorms, and you kind of hung with the people in your dorm. He was talking smack to this other cat, and then going back and forth. My man had a handle, and then just the dude hit him with a chair, like blow. My man got him with the handle, like whack him, just
with a handle,
with an E and J, Irk and jerk all over that dude.
Oh man,
and I'm over here just like I'm young, like oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I probably sounded like that back then too, high pitched voice. But when the MPs came, and after all the melee had got subsided down, they were there trying to figure out what happened. And they were like, okay, man, who could tell us what happened? And I'm over here like, yo, I got this. Somebody just smashed my boy. Yo, no, I know exactly who did it. Yep. When they just turn around right there. I'm giving names, I'm writing statements. And because I came from a military family, my dad was a high-ranking NCO. So that's what you do. Like they come around, you talk because they protecting your neighborhood, right? Bro, like the way people turned on me, the way that it felt like you were literally shunned, that you got to go to courses and classes with them, and their camaraderie is gone. Like they don't want to talk to you, and I had no idea of that hood mentality of no telling, no snitching, we don't talk to cops. And then in the military of all places, you think this will follow through. Well, it didn't. And it showed me that mentality. That was my first exposure to no snitching, no talking. You don't tell them like that. And it went downhill for me from there because, you know, it automatically I'm trying to not only still fit in, but regain trust. And, you know, these were the individuals I was around to where I'm a tool, I'm a pawn. I'm somebody that they can take advantage of, right? And I always think that what had happened if I went to jail, not in the military for correctional custody, but what if I went to jail, you know, civilian world around these monsters that ain't bound by any code or ethics, that don't have a uniform, that they're not accountable to anybody, you know what I'm saying? And it's survival of the fittest. And I had no survival instincts, like none whatsoever. And I was a small cat. So but just the experience of people looking at you like, how dare you do the right thing? What is wrong with you? And you're conflicted. Like everything I've been taught, like, did my parents teach me wrong? Now do I get rid of my own internal integrity and commitment and my morality just to make these people like me? And unfortunately, that's where I fell into.